911 location of your emergency.
Breaking news out of North Idaho. Moscow police are investigating a homicide on King Road.
Is she breathing?
No.
So 5'10", all black. Could you see what color his eyebrows were or anything like that?
No, I don't remember what his eyes look like either.
Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves, but no weapon has been located at this time.
Arrested. That's 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in custody today.
Mr. Kohberger allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false.
We do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can't put his phone in that area. There are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants.
Everything is alleged.
Holy guacamole, you guys. It is official. We know more about this case than Cyray does. And I'm not basing that off of the fact that he has now backpedaled in an interview completely 180'd from what we just read less than a week ago. That is being based off the fact he said so himself, that he has not been keeping up with what's been released with other information, and he has only seen the data set related to his expert opinion in this case. So he is out there putting a very, very strong statement of guilt on Bryan Kohberger, while also stating in the exact same interview he has not seen everything. He also deflected in a lot of questions that proved he didn't actually have an answer, which again just proved he shouldn't be out here making an assumption of guilt or innocence because he is not knowledgeable in everything. I also don't appreciate trust me bro bullshit. Oh, once you map everything, it just becomes so obvious. Drop the map. Drop the map. You can write a book. You can have a course. You can have a whole new class where people came in and paid who knows how much freaking money to listen to you talk about how this just can't happen again. Bullshit. Drop some info. We don't do trust me, bro. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I am not even going to deal with this dude. Okay, I'm just not. We're still going to read this shit book because we paid almost $100 for this piece of shit book. And even though I want a refund, okay, what the hell? We're still going to go over this piece of shit book. So whatever, we're going to go over it. I don't understand how he can sit there. And let me just say right off the bat, I was wrong about the way that I thought the channel was going to handle Cyray. I was not expecting them to push back as much as they did because of what we've already seen. They did not push back with facts. They didn't seem very knowledgeable of the case in some of the other interviews we've seen them do. It was very apparent they did their homework for this interview. And for that, I very much appreciate it. Well done. The pushback was magnificent. The pushback was magnificent. They didn't just ask a question and walk away from it. They came back to it. And I like how Ron also started changing the way that he was asking the questions because of how Cyray kept deflecting about, well, I don't really know what's out there or not. And he would be like, it might be out there. Maybe we haven't seen it. He started adding that. That's congratulations. Beautiful. I love the pushback. That was beautiful. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Okay. Aggravated at Cyray's bullshit is more than obvious. I don't appreciate, again, the trust me bro thing. If he would come out and give more clear information on things, then maybe we could listen to him more and be more open-minded. But when he comes out here and says things with such strong meaning, with nothing that he's willing to say to back it up, I'm sorry. It's just as much with Turvey as it is with him. It doesn't matter to me that he has issues with Turvey and some of the same things that I have issues with Turvey. He's doing the same shit. And all he's doing is coming out and talking shit about Turvey for doing the exact same thing that he just went and did. Like, that's what just happened here. That's what just happened here. So I'm going to pull up my notes because I was typing up. I'm glad I didn't put my little fake nails on. I had a whole thing that I was going to put my little fake nails on today, and I was going to do it during the interview. And then I was like, maybe I need my fingers. because handwriting these notes just wasn't going to work. So I put my little nails off, thankfully, because what I had written in notes was too long to put in the community post. Now, if you scroll up to what I believe is now the pinned comment, I have the link to the shared drive where I put these notes in there. They're all in there in all of their glory. No, this was stupid. I don't appreciate him coming out and acting like we're ignorant to facts, that we don't know what we're talking about when the way that he says certain things. That's not cute either, because again, it's very, very obvious that we know more about what's going on here than he does, because he admitted himself, and I recorded the whole thing. I did not expect it to be so long. And normally we don't do like live reviews going back over these interviews, but I think this one we're going to have to. We're going to have to. Before we start going over this book and doing chapter reviews the way that we've been doing with Broken Plea, we're going to have to do a live review going over Cyray's interview. We're going to have just no choice. Literally no choice at this point. But I want to take a look at some of the things that I did write down that he said, because there were some interesting things that he did say that did get my attention. Do they need to be this big? I mean, do they need to be that big? I don't know, maybe. So let's talk about those things. I swear my neighbor must know what I do and must be following me, because this is like the 4th time in a row that they didn't even bring out a lawnmower until right when I was going live and my countdown started, and all of a sudden heard the damn thing start up. You know what? They can't hear you, so it's fine. Okay. He did say some things. Let's see. And again, let me go ahead and actually let me give y'all the link again, since we're live now, to my notes, because I'm not going to read my entire note page. It's a lot of freaking notes. I'm just going to like skim through it for the things that like we need to talk about like at this time, because like I said, we don't normally do a live review of these interviews by themselves, but I think like this one and the complete, what's crazy to me is that he's coming out here with this rhetoric literally days, not months, not a year and a half since his last time he was on the freaking in the courtroom, or whenever he was in the Zoom meeting and being called a conspiracy theorist. He came out with this rhetoric days, days after his report was released. And while he is being pushed back with statements from his very own report, he is also backtracking on a lot of shit that he said in that report without giving reasoning, without giving proof of anything. And again, while admitting he only saw his expert data set of information. So how can he sit here and also say that he saw crime scene photos? Why were you shown crime scene photos if you were only given information based on your data set? And in this case, and it was verified, I think it was I think it was Sam that kept asking in like different ways, like what exactly it was that he saw, because she knows that he has been an expert in crime scene analysis and reconstruction, and I think even DNA in like other cases. So she wanted him to verify that none of that applied here. So while he's out here giving information about DNA and the crime scene and the autopsy photos and the hair and Ethan's hand and all this other stuff, what does that have to do with cell phone data? Because when we're reading through his report, he doesn't say, from what I can recall, and I'm going to pull it up right now, he doesn't say from his report, again, from what I can recall, that he had the autopsy photos, because what the frick does that have to do with you looking at the cell phone analysis? You wouldn't have had that. What's also interesting is the fact that, again, this just came out a few days ago, and now we know, here it is right here, that he did not have everyone's information. Now we know that he did not have everyone's information. It says that he didn't have Ethan's. He didn't have all of Ethan's information. He didn't have all of Jack Ducour's information. He didn't have all of Bethany's information. And he didn't have all of Molly's information at the time that he wrote this report. That doesn't mean that the things that he wrote in this report just simply go away when it comes to the things that he did find when it comes to Bryan Kohberger. And again, he also sat there and just stated that even though he believes that Kohberger was like in the northeast area of Moscow, he's still not verifying that they can put him at the crime scene. What I also don't understand is how he can sit there and say, while saying that Thompson even said this in court. We just said this a couple of days ago. They're using what Cyray is saying about not being able to put Kohberger at the crime scene literally in what was stated as part of the state's whatever the shit they were going to try to pull off, that was said at the plea hearing, that the plea change. And that doesn't change. That doesn't change just because some mapping that Cy did. Would not the state be privy to that work product and not be able to say that? It doesn't matter if it's work product and was mapped by the defense. He just said everything that he did was filed, and the state also had it. So if the state had this so-say map of all these other points that he apparently put together, how the hell can Thompson stand up in court and still say that? See how that makes no freaking sense? You're not going to tell me that you created a map that makes Kohberger look guilty. That was your work product that was submitted and actually given to the state to also see, and then expect us to question, well, why aren't they using it then? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. No. He was very arrogant. He was very dumb. I didn't appreciate the bullshit. I just don't appreciate the bullshit, especially when it's going to come out of his own mouth that he has not kept up with what's been released, and he was supposedly only given his own data set of information. That's why I'm looking back through this report, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't see anywhere in this report where it says that he was given autopsy photos, and he just said that he looked at autopsy photos. He doesn't say that he looked at any of that. I might be wrong. I might be missing it. That's why I'm going back up. No. Nowhere in this does it say that he was given autopsy photos. So the way that he came out and just completely disregarded everything that was said by Turvey is pathetic, because it's literally in the FBI report. And there's another report that was released at the exact same time that that Cy and Turvey's reports were released. I don't remember exactly. Was it Wolf, I think? Was it Wolf? Hold on. Pre-guilty plea. This one right here. Was it Wolf that said it too? Or maybe it was Ballard. No, I don't remember which one it was. I don't remember which one it was. I don't know how he's coming out here and saying the things that he's saying. I really just don't understand it. I'm very confused by his rhetoric. I'm very confused by him coming out and still saying, oh yeah, all of these things are a problem. There's no way that we couldn't have been able to like discredit all of these things. But then when he's asked, okay, well then why didn't the defense use it? And his excuse is, well, because it helps them more than it harms them. But they used it to arrest him. Like, if they could prove that it was fruit of the poisonous tree and they could get the arrest warrant swiped away, I don't think that you can consider that being more harm than good. I'm sorry. How does that work? How does that work? Yeah, that's another thing. He's sitting there. Oh, yeah. Remember, he also said what about being asked if Bethany left or not? How he answered that question was really interesting. And you know why it's so freaking interesting? Not just because people have been questioning that, but because of something that she said herself. In one of the interviews, she said that she heard a scream in the middle of the night one night, like not even a week before that time of the interview. I think subconsciously she was telling us about that night. I think something else went down that night. He basically admitted it, because for everything else he's saying, I will say that they are innocent and they are victims. And yes, he definitely compared Dylan to a freaking assault victim. Like, do you not even understand how many people you just pissed the actual F off that have actually been paying attention to this case? I'm sorry. She did not call Bethany freaking out because she saw somebody walking around the house. Bethany called her. She sits there and tells us that she's seeing this guy walking by her in some way, and she hears crying and she hears screaming and running, and all of it's coming from Xana's bedroom area, the bathroom. Notice that she wants to say the bathroom so that she can't get in even more trouble for saying that she actually thought it was coming from Xana's room. Now, never mind also the fact that Xana is half naked in her thong and her gray sweater that is now covered in blood, and she is laying on the ground, spread eagle, as Dylan walks past her after hearing all of those things. And for Dylan being someone who Emily and Josie themselves have come out and stated is a little cry wolf, calls for attention for every little noise that she hears, is paranoid and ridiculous. The one time something actually goes down and she doesn't call anyone for 8 hours. She doesn't call Bethany. Again, she came out swinging with the fact that she started making contact with everybody first, and that's not true. There is nothing besides the text messages that are going back and forth between Bethany and Dylan that amount to anything when it comes to Dylan's story. Thuds on the camera, that could have been caused by somebody just knocking something over that had nothing to do with the killings themselves. Could literally have something to do with, oh shit, somebody else is awake in the house and now I've got to get back to where I was because I'm not supposed to be outside of my room and shit's getting knocked over. We don't know. All of the bullshit about who was killed first, that's literally being based off of what Dylan is claiming to have heard. They've already told us they can't give us order of death. They can't even actually give us time of death. They're again going off of text messages between the two of them. He would know that if he cared actually about the case to prove his own opinion. Because a real defense expert or a real criminal expert, regardless, would sit there and go through all of the public information that gets released. He would read through all of the reports. He would know all of the problems. He doesn't. It's very obvious that he doesn't. He even said so himself. He's not keeping up. He's only seen his own data set of information. So then I question, if your report does not say that you were given the autopsy photos, how can you come out here saying shit about the autopsy information? About the photos themselves, in order to say what you just said about Turvey? Your report should say that you were given autopsy photos, yeah? It doesn't. You weren't hired for crime scene reconstruction. You weren't hired for spatter. Why would you have those? I don't think he does. I don't think he does. He's lying somewhere. He's lying somewhere. He also says he doesn't believe that the Moscow Police Department did anything intentionally. And he says a lot about how the FBI made a lot of intentional decisions. But then he also seems to forget, in the middle, he still sits there and says stuff like, oh, well, they were a small department. They don't have a lot of resources. Okay, but they weren't doing shit. They didn't do anything. The FBI touched every single aspect of this case. Moscow Police Department never interviewed Kohberger's family. They only ever spoke to him on the night of his arrest and never once again. Never mind the fact that we've tried to get the interview and the FBI won't release it. They are holding all of the evidence given to Moscow in this case as loaned information that can't be dispersed to the public, even though Moscow is the lead agency. Never mind the fact that the pocket recorder that recorded the interview in Pennsylvania that Gilbertson had with Payne, that recording is magically missing. And you know what else is also missing? The transcript for that recording. They've known about it for even months before we knew about it. Does Cyree know that? Does Cyree know that information? It's also amazing to me that he sits there and tries to say that there was so much DNA on the knife sheath, just like that dumb shit from Othram. Do you see this live right here? Do you see this number? Probably not, but I'm going to give y'all this link right here. We did a complete forensic breakdown of the DNA, the amounts, everything, okay? We went and took all of the Q.1, .2, .3, .4, all of the amounts of DNA that were actually taken from the swabs, went through what they did to magnify the sample to get it to a testable size, everything. 0.168 is barely trace DNA. So does he not actually know that we have the forensic reports? That we have the data? Does Othram not know that these reports were released? Do they not know that we have some of this information? How can you possibly come out here and do an interview and admit that you haven't seen everything while doing all of this? That's actually crazy. That's actually crazy. He said the prosecution team was incredibly involved with the entire investigation. that they weren't acting in a bubble, that the decisions were made in a group setting, and they were all really bad decisions. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them were really bad decisions, and some were made intentionally. Which means, remember what I was asking a while back, like who double checks the information? Who double checks these reports that get sent off to the judge for search warrants to validate the information is accurate? Well, he answered the question today. He says that law enforcement writes and drafts the search warrants, okay? The things that we read from the public website that had Payne's name on it, Mowry's name on it, all those search warrants that we read, they're all written by law enforcement, obviously. The prosecutor is the one who double checks them before they're given to the judge to sign. And he said the person who did the double checking was Jennings. Jennings would be the one responsible for not giving a shit how inaccurate the information was, which, if I recall correctly, there are emails between Jennings and a few other people regarding like the AT&T information, the timing records and stuff like that, where I can't exactly remember what the emails state, so I don't want to talk out of turn because I don't remember. I just remember reading them, like reading through the emails, and it was very obvious that they were aware that there was timing advanced data that they could be had. As a matter of fact, I was trying to find the video earlier and I couldn't find it. I don't remember if we did it in a live or if it was a video, but for those of you that have been here for like a super long time, you'll probably remember when we did this or when I posted this video. Do you guys remember when I went through and I found a letter from the White House that was sent off to AT&T asking about how they store data? And they mentioned GLDC or GDLC, whatever it was that he just mentioned in the interview, as the people that actually like kept the data for them. I know, like, we did an entire video on it because we read the entire letter, because it was after they kept trying to act as if the company that held the data didn't actually hold the data until a certain time. But then Cyray's original report came out and said that he'd been teaching, GLDC, that he'd been teaching all this stuff for like a super long time before 2020. And he knows damn well that AT&T keeps a hold of it. I was trying to find the damn video earlier and I can't find it. I know that it's been a while. So I'm just going to run my mouth while I'm looking because I'd like to be able to find it and put the damn link out. I don't think we did it in a live because, like, well, you know what? Maybe we did do it in a live. Let me see if I can find it. But this was like a while back. So that at least was like verified, which we already knew, but it was still interesting to like hear it again. Oh, come on. AT&T. No. It was a very long time ago. Let me see if I can actually search it from like my home screen. Because I don't remember like what I even titled it. I know that it had a White House header. And the government was like basically inquiring with AT&T with how they hold their data. It was like a whole thing. I guess to like make sure that they weren't violating anyone's rights with the way that they were doing it. I feel like I had the letter on the thumbnail. Watch, because I want to actually like talk about it. I'm not going to be able to find it. And then once we're done, I'll be able to find it. Because that's how it normally works, you know? Oh my God, I typed in cell. Holy crap, we've talked about so much of this. See, we talked about 9 months ago, we talked about how Cyray was doing a class at the Homeland Security Office called Preventing the Plea. I'll put a link for that one in the chat too. That's why I'm like so confused, like why he's like allowed to come out and say some things, but when he's asked very specifically to basically give like more information on the things that he is like hinting at, he won't just come out and say it. Oh, another thing that's really pissing me off, and Cyree better get his shit together. Like, I'm not even kidding about this. I'm going to get my face big on this one. Cyree, listen to me, honey. Okay? That 1129 tip that you keep going off and off and off about was never turned in to the frickin' cops. Yes, there was a license plate scanned. Yes, Bryan Kohberger's information was searched for in the database on 1129, but per the chief in charge at the time, who has come out and done interviews with his own big old little mustachioed face, that was never turned in as a tip. Therefore, no. If that's what you're going off of, about there being some report with Kohberger's name on it before 12/19, you really have got to get with the program or prove that you're not being paid for the bullshit narrative since the IGG has been marked off the board. No, sir. He went off on that like 15 times, especially at the end. It was never turned in. And then he's lying or just misinformed, saying that there's emails to prove that. No, that's the opposite. We have the emails already to prove that that's not true. They were released by Pullman. We have the proof. Brett Payne himself got on the stand in January of 2025 and said there was nothing in the system pertaining to Kohberger before 12/19. No tips, no correspondence, nothing. So again, how is he going to come out here and say, oh, he's guilty and all these things are going to prove it, blah, blah, blah. And he has no clue, no idea about the truth of any of this stuff. That 1129 tip was never turned in. And that's not just coming from me. That's coming from Ann Taylor saying that in court. That's coming from email correspondence that has been released. And that is coming from the chief in charge of the police department at the time that said, no, the car did not match the criteria. It was the wrong year. We never turned it in. It wasn't even given over to MPD until 12/20, according to Jenkins. Shouldn't Cyree know that information? Shouldn't he know that? If he's going to come out here and spread a lie, and the proof that he's giving everyone is that Kohberger's name was a part of a report before 12/19, and that's his proof, and he doesn't know the truth of it, how can you take anything else he says as credible? I can't believe he's coming out here and saying that with all the proof that has come out. How do you not know that? It was said in court. The evidence is already out there. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. Okay, let's see. Anyone who isn't open-minded, what's the point? That's where I knew right then and there that he knew in his little bitty uneducated brain, because he's already admitted he hasn't seen everything himself, literally within the last 3 hours, that he thought Kohberger was guilty. How can you sit here and say that you have to be open-minded to what's actually going on here when you haven't even bothered to sit down and read anything other than what you were given? You haven't opened a forensic report. You haven't opened any of the public documentation that's come out. You have no clue what's actually out there to know that we can debunk live some of the shit that you're saying. This was the same as all the rest of the interviews. I don't understand how we can't have one person come out that doesn't have some sort of agenda. Because you notice how he kept pushing this book over and over and over again. He kept mentioning the book. This $100 book that you really had no right to use this case to sell if you're going to come out here and be wish-washy and two-faced. If you're going to come over here and you're going to flip shit around because the report that came out before the plea, what, you don't like the way it makes you look? Did the plea make it to where suddenly your reputation's on the line, Cyree? Instead of standing your ground, you're coming out here and throwing the other defense experts under the bus and acting like they're the ones in the wrong while you're out here doing the same shit. Trust me, bro, bullshit. No proof, bullshit. If you could see everything else, bullshit. I'm so mad. I mean, he really did. He's just so ridiculous. I just can't believe it. I really just can't believe it. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining again. You've been a member before. Thanks for joining again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, Babs. Oh, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships, Wasp. Congratulations to those who got those. And the one from Stephanie. Congratulations, you guys. 10 more from Kay Schmidt. Memberships everywhere. I love how nice you guys are to each other. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the $9.99 Mystic Sin. We are just peasants to him. That's what it seems like, right? That sure is what the hell it seems like. I can't believe he came out here trying to act like we didn't know shit about shit. Boy, who was you? Who was you? I don't give a shit what you did anymore. I used to really take a lot of credence into what he did, but now that I'm seeing him not standing his ground, it's obvious that he was trying to just make a name for himself. I think that what he was doing was already being questioned by a lot of different courts, and he was trying to prove himself to be something big. And so he wanted to grab him. He wanted to latch himself onto this case once he really saw who it was. Because, like, be serious. You could have backed out at any time. You chose not to. You decided to stay on and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of your own money and not be paid and blah, 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 whatever. Because you wanted this to, like, put your name somewhere to get rid of whatever bad was going on. That's probably what the hell happened here. And he wasn't expecting a plea, and now he's having to backpedal instead of keeping his word, because what he found is insane. What he found, just based on the report that we just read, shows that everything that Nick Balance ever touched needs to be reworked. Just like the Colorado DNA chick. Everything that Nick Balance, and you know what that means? You know how effed up that is? Because that also means the Lori Daybell case. She's as guilty as shit. Okay, they both are. They're freaks of nature, all right? That means that case would also have to be relooked at. Everything that Balance touched needs to be looked at. And he can't sit there and take it back now that the report is unsealed. So I don't know, what was he doing? Was he trying to get these out as fast as humanly possible before the truth about what he actually thought came out from court? Because the dates are real close. This damn book just came out, like, how long have I had this now? Oh, 2 weeks? A week and a half? Like, come on. The timing's crazy. Timing's interesting. Thank you for the $4.99, Kim. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. My head is spinning. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Mine is too, J-Lou. I'm just over here. I'm just sip my ice water because I know my blood pressure was getting like risen up, but I had it on my laptop over here playing so I could record the whole thing. And then I was over here taking notes, and I was just like, I gotta stand. I'm glad I have this like up and down desk. I had to get up and like do some steps, and like I can't get angry. Like I gotta calm down. Like, but y'all saw me in the chat. Ridiculous, unbelievable. I cannot believe how ridiculous he is. Oh my God. Thank you for the $4.99 again. I appreciate that. Thank you for the 2 blue-eyed butterfly. Thank you for all your comments with that joke. I mean, you have to kind of joke sometimes to stop from freaking out. Hell no, Moto Man Max. Thank you for the 50. No, not once. Because once he came out and made it really clear that he wasn't going to change his mind either, I knew how hypocritical the conversation was going to be. It became really clear. And like I said, I don't want us to be right, okay? It's going to be really, really effed up the day that something actually does happen, which it sounds like something is, and the world finally realizes and the court finally realizes everything that we've been questioning has been accurate, because there's nothing that adds up here. To me, there are people out there that are still capable of doing these, I don't even know what the frick to call it, things now that we've seen so much. Disturbing, depraved, sadistic, demonic. I mean, how do you just simply sit there and deface someone? You know what comes to mind? This is probably going to give a visual to a lot of people. I might have mentioned this before. My brain is very picture-y. Like I can imagine things pretty clearly. But for some reason, my brain doesn't want to picture Kaylee like that herself. So a lot of times when I start thinking about that scenario, a movie clip like pops into my brain. This sounds like so Dylanish. I know, just hear me out, okay? There's a movie called Pan's Labyrinth. And in the very beginning of the movie, the piece of shit husband, he's this asshole military guy, and there's these poor people that I guess got caught stealing a rabbit or some shit like that. I don't remember exactly what it is. But he sits there and he beats to death the son in front of the father with like the butt of a pistol, and it's very graphic. and it shows the face cave in and the bones break and the blood come out. It's very graphic. It's one of my absolute favorite movies, but this scene is very graphic. And as soon as we started getting more details about Kaylee, that's like the only scene I keep seeing in my head. That's the only scene I keep thinking in my head. And nothing is telling me that the person that is convicted of this did any of those things. So to me, somebody who's capable of not only causing this much harm, but also has maybe even the ability to be able to make certain things happen behind the scenes is still very much out there. Watching everything that we talk about, just laughing, probably gloating in it. That's what a lot of them do here, recently. They watch. And I'm willing to change my mind. We don't sit here and sift through every damn document and listen to every freaking interview for any little piece of information for nothing. We're hoping one day, sure, maybe Cyray's right. And maybe one day everything will come out and we'll be like, damn, they really had us fooled. But when the state has the chance to sit there and give you a narrative of everything they were planning to use at trial, and they stand there and tell you that they can't do shit, how am I supposed to believe that there's anything else, sir? How? Make that make sense. There's just no way. There's just no way. Hither with James, saying Sipler promoted the plea, all Hippler. Well, let me say this. And most of you guys will remember this. We talked about this. We've listened to this happen. There was a hearing in which Hippler literally asked both sides if a plea had ever been discussed. They said no. Does that mean they were being honest? No. There might have been things being discussed beforehand. We don't really know. But they said no in the courtroom that day. So then Hippler then invited them to start considering it. And there is a very specific form and a deadline that was given. So technically, Hippler did promote it. He asked both sides the question. They both answered, and they were given a deadline in order to whatever. So I don't know. I don't know what happened in between the invitation and when the plea was announced, because no one has come out and been honest about what happened, because we've gotten a whole bunch of different stories. Now, what Cyray did confirm is that the defense experts weren't told anything. And I think he's being a little ridiculous when he says, how dare he thinks that he needs to be consulted in way of turvy. It's not about being consulted, actually, Cyray. It's about the common courtesy to be, told that the case that you've been working on for the past few years that is headed to trial, that there's been a plea, and that in the next 24 hours or so, the news is going to break publicly. But because you were working on the case, you're being told a heads up because now your work is done. I think that's something that should be considered kind of normal, yeah? So while, yeah, I agree, she doesn't need to consult with you either, honestly, about a hot damn thing. A little bit of common courtesy probably should have happened here. So if you heard about it, when the public heard about it, I mean, honestly, shouldn't you be a little perturbed about that as well? Shouldn't you be a little aggravated that you weren't given the common decency by your technical employer that you were no longer going to be working a job? I mean, come on now. I think that he is just like really mad at Turvey for some damn reason. And I don't know what that's about, because again, I feel like he came out here doing the exact same thing. I really do. Oh my gosh, thank you for the 100 wasp. I appreciate that, because Cyray was a smug. I don't know if that's a bad word in another language. So I'm just not going to say it, and I will just agree with you. Because yes, he was. I can't believe how ridiculous he was. Thank you for the 199 horror movie gal. Thank you for calling out the bullshit. This right here. The 180-degree turn. Yes, thank you for the 499, Amanda. That's what I mean. That's why, right here, this 180 degrees. That's why I'm so shocked that he's coming out here and saying the stuff he's saying, because we just read his entire report. His entire report is Kohberger was nowhere near the crime scene. We cannot put this near the crime scene. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so if he has proof that he has, again, proof of another direction that was taken, of another drive that was taken, why can't he just produce that? He's saying that it's because it's work product. Well, sir, so is your opinion then, isn't it? Because that's what you were going to give to the freaking court at trial. Isn't everything that you base your opinion on work product, therefore in some sort of weird attachment? So is your opinion. Why are you out here talking at all? If you can't answer specific questions, why are you out here saying anything? And again, that 1129 shit, dude better get with it quick. Because if he's going to come out here with that bullshit ass lie, no one can take him serious. No one can take him serious. And again, I also don't know if he thinks that it's this. Because remember, when the forensic reports dropped, it showed Kohberger's name on some of the documents that had dates of 12/5/22. And a lot of people were like, hold up. What do you mean? Because that could have been it. That right there could have been it. That they actually did have information on him before the 19th. That they had information on him even before the 10th. Okay, that they had info on him. That could have meant that. So we were like, hold on, they need to clarify. What do you mean you have him on the forensic DNA analysis reports for 12/5/22? And what did they have to do? They had to come out and clarify that it was because the print date of the information was after the arrest, after the DNA, and as the information was being printed, it was going back in and filling in previously unknown or empty slots with known information, basically like the DNA profile. You know, just to copy it over till it gets all the gaps filled in is basically what happened. So either way he's going, unless he's going to give us a date and give us a report that he's talking about, he's wrong on both sides. I just cannot believe. I cannot believe. Let's see. He said there's no doubt that the PCA was incoherent and that there was no mapping to support it. There's statements in there that we know are absolutely wrong. Very clear statements about a vehicle heading towards the scene. Video showing a car doing a 180 degrees opposite direction. So right then and there, if you know that the video evidence in hand is showing a vehicle doing the opposite of what they're saying that the vehicle is doing, how can you then sit there and try to tell us that you think that Kohberger is guilty in any way, shape, or fashion, and you still cannot sit here to this day during this interview and say that he was at the scene at the time of the crime? He was not willing to say that. But he's guilty. He did verify that Kohberger was in the area of Wallaway Park. He would not actually say he was in the park, but he said the vicinity of or the perimeter of. I'll get to the word here in a minute, okay? But then he didn't give a time. He didn't give a time. He said it's very obvious. Everyone knew that the 2:47 timing was wrong, which we knew that. That all got corrected. I don't even know when, but like a long time ago. That's the 7 minutes. That's also when the car, and he verified that too, that the car that they followed out of Pullman was not Bryan's car. He verified that in this interview. But what he's then trying to say is that he thinks that Kohberger went a different direction. So that's actually something I wanted to try to see. Because I tried to look at the map, Google Maps, because he said, and this is something that they say quite a bit in the report, is that it looks like Kohberger was like always northeast of Moscow, which is super interesting considering there's a park area over there. So here's the house here, okay? There's this thing called Mountain View Park here that's northeast of it. There's also like up here where I'm under the understanding there's a lot of hiking this way. Mountain View Park also right here. So I don't know like just how northeast he's saying, but like this area all right here is definitely like hiking stuff. Robinson Park. Look, all these hiking areas up northeast of Moscow, and that's not a far drive. Like that's not very far. Okay, considering like the Pullman airport's right here, like this is not very far at all of a drive. I mean, basically, like the same distance to get from Moscow to Pullman is the same distance to get from Moscow up to like these hiking areas. Okay. So who's to say that these northeast drives that he's taking aren't going up this way? Like he's not verifying that it's not. And then he's also saying, so there's apparently a direction that he's saying that Kohberger took is what this is how I'm understanding it. He's saying that Kohberger took this direction, which is just also bullshit because there's no way that any other direction wouldn't have cameras somewhere to prove directionality. Okay, there's no way that there wouldn't be somewhere to prove directionality. There's just no freaking way. Okay, so then we take, let's see where they say WSU right here. He said the car driving around in WSU was not Bryan's car. So then what's the other area that he's expecting there to be taken? Right here? Airport Road? Is he trying to say that Airport Road was taken? Well, Airport Road comes right back here to Floyd's Cannabis. So then he would have had to have gotten back on the Pullman Moscow highway from Floyd's Cannabis? Or is he saying that he took all of this up here to O'Donnell and then took it up this way and got on 95 and came back down? Like there's different ways that he could be going depending on what he's trying to say. How come he didn't give us more specific information? And again, you're trying to tell me that this road is north, okay? So you're trying to tell me that he might have actually driven a road next to an airport and that's not on camera nowhere, him going that way? Show me another road north of this. He said a road north of 270, not south, not down here, because this is what a lot of people thought that they were talking about, that he went down this way, down all these back roads this way, and then got over here to Moscow. No, he is saying that it was north of 270. So what road is he trying to say that he took? What route is he trying to say that he took? There's no way he went by an airport, wasn't on camera. There's no way that he went all the way back this way and got on 95 and wasn't on some sort of traffic cam up there. There's no way. He said this direction going north basically plops you right at Indian Hills. Well, I don't see how. I don't see how. He needs to give us more information on that. I don't see how. Hold on. Somebody asked where the park was. Let me pull up the park. Hold on. I'll do it. It says 1122 King Road is permanently closed. It was never a business. I can't stand the fact that Google just lets anybody that they want go in there and change the information for the damn house. Okay. So this is 1122 right here. Here's Pullman up here. The park area is over here. And this is Wawaway Road. It runs parallel to Snake River. Up here in this Blaine, Genesee area is where they tried to say that his phone was when it reconnected. But let's open back up his report. Oh, and never mind the fact, okay, this is what I was really hoping that they would hone in on, and maybe they didn't notice it. Maybe it got lost. There was a lot going on. They did a really good interview with him, so I'm not trying to knock the interview at all. They really did really well pushing back on him. But what I really was hoping for more information on was his GPS. So that was one of the things that we found in Cy Ray's report, was that he mentions the fact that Kohberger has his navigator on sometime after 4 o'clock, around the time that they're claiming that the phone came back on the system. Which again, how are you going to sit there and try to tell me somebody's freaking guilty of these murders? And they, again, because he said this stupid shit too. He said something about, he had crime scene cleanup, whatever. He wrote a damn report on it. No, the frick he didn't. Let's be so serious. But you're still going to try to tell me that this person went and did all this crazy ass shit and then turned his GPS on? Do we look stupid? Like, seriously? Seriously? Okay. He said in the interview that there were GPS hits while they're talking about the lower portion of the map that this whole area, okay, all the stuff in the area, the lower portion of it. And it says right here on page 31 of his analysis, the search warrant issued to, and this is again between 448 and 453. The cell site 420504 south of Moscow. Okay, this has to do with that. He says here, the search warrant issued to AT&T for Mr. Kohberger's records include a request for the historical precision location information data. This data was provided by AT&T. As discussed earlier, the reliability and accuracy of this data can widely vary and should be used with caution. With that said, this is where you pay attention. It appears Mr. Kohberger's device is using a map application, possible navigation guidance at the time. As such, the historical precision location information is extremely accurate during this time period. So you're going to admit that he had his GPS on? You want me to believe that he had his GPS on after he committed 4 murders so that he could show up south of the town where the shit just happened? What do you mean? Why would he do that on purpose? There's no freaking way that you're going to make me believe that this person who is getting his PhD in criminal justice and wanted to help with cloud-based forensics and all of these things did all this stupid shit. I'm sorry? There's no way. You're admitting he had his GPS on. Did you not stop to even hear yourself for a second? What? What? I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Thank you for the 5, Julie. Watching your comments today made me smile. I was screaming at the TV myself. Good thing I was home alone. Thanks for all your hard work. You know what? I could imagine that I was really loud too. I'm sure my oldest son's friends that he plays games with were like, what the hell is going on? Because I'm sure I know how I felt. I know I feel a lot better now that I'm like verbally discussing this. But damn, my blood pressure is up for a minute. Unbelievably ridiculous. Unbelievably ridiculous. Thank you for the $4.99 wit. Also, Sai saying there was video of BK trying to park in front of the house and driving around so many times. We still have yet to see any proof of that because it doesn't exist. He's talking about 1112. And that's another thing that Sai is so ignorant to. How dare you, you stupid fool, sit there and try to act like the people that are talking about the undercover cops are conspiracy theorists, you stupid ass buffoon. It was in Vision, Idaho that night. There was a silver undercover cop car and undercover plainclothes officers on scene in the area, like as shit was probably happening. We knew about that before Kohberger was ever arrested, you fool. How do you not know that? He chastised everyone who brought that up. The silver car used by those dumb shits literally could be the car on the camera. It has the same angle in the window. It looks identical, and you can't tell silver and white between each other on a camera like that. Does he know nothing? Does he know nothing? And no, it was not a normal night on the campus. Again, it was the weekend after Parents' Weekend. Other Parents' Weekend was happening at WSU. So while Parents' Weekend was happening at WSU, homecoming, oh my God, I can't even talk. Homecoming was happening at the University of Idaho. Also something called Envision, Idaho, where there were supposed to be no parties, no drinking, and nothing like that, because what is Envision, Idaho? Something that they put on so that people that with kids in high school that are looking for colleges to go to, a facade of the campus can be put on, a front, shall you say, a veil, to what actually goes on the weekends there. They said so themselves. The frat brothers themselves that were interviewed said they had no idea how they got permission for the lodge party because it wasn't supposed to happen because of Envision Idaho. That's why there was undercover cops in the neighborhood. How does Cyree not know this? How does he not know that the silver car looks identical? How does he not know? That again was out before we had anything else. They literally, actually, the crazy part about that part was that they dropped that band field footage that shows the silver car at around the same time as the bolo to the public for the white car and the same time of the white car in Oregon. Like, all three of those things happened at the exact same time. Y'all remember that? It was a huge cluster F. I remember that. Cyree, you ignorant fool. Anybody who gives a shit about this case and the facts of this case most likely no longer see you credible. Unbelievable. I can't believe he acted like that about things that are literally already like proven. But going back to your previous comment, he's talking about the car on the 1112, about how it stops in front of 1112 and know how it tries to like back up. And when it's like going to go back in drive, how it goes back a little bit. And I'm like, damn, that looks like a standard with the way that it moves. That's what he's talking about. That's not in front of 1122. That's not in front of 1122 at all. I can't believe his bullshit. I really can't. Thank you for the $4.99 again. Also, BK phone records are concrete and facts with DM, BF, etc. We can't rely on their phone records. What the sir, dummy. Not just that, but again, his report says he didn't have Bethany's information. His report says it wasn't handed to him. He doesn't have a complete record for Bethany. He doesn't have a complete record for Ethan. He doesn't have a complete record for Molly. And he does not have a complete record for Jack Ducour. At least according to his January 2025 report. And he can't answer when Ethan and Xana were home. He can say, well, we can tell you when they weren't. That doesn't tell me when they got there. That doesn't tell me anything. What good are you? You can't even answer when you're the cell phone analysis guy. And you can't tell us when Xana and Ethan got home? Like, that's really your like one job here. Out of everything that we already have answers for, your one actual job is to know when Xana and Ethan got home based on their phone records, and you can't do that. So here we are again, a year after the plea. We have how many experts and how many different people come out here and talking, and we still have no proof about Xana and Ethan. Which them having no timestamp to get home is the entire freaking reason why we went after the 1112 footage to begin with. Xana and Ethan were the reason. Welcome back, Christina. Thank you for rejoining. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, and not just that, but he's like completely just throwing away everything that we know already about Dylan's phone records and about her going up the 2 flights of stairs an hour before the 911 call was made. And he's just making like all kinds of excuses. All kinds of excuses. Now, this proven power off thing, all I want is the report from Celebrite. All I want is the freaking report from Celebrite. That's all that I want. That's all that I want. And again, we've asked for more than selfies multiple times directly to them because they are the ones who gave us their information. And they won't respond and give us anything else. Just the selfies. That's all that they'll give us. That's why I said it has not been released. And another thing, too, if he apparently mapped these locations that show that Kohberger took a road that was north of 270 and went to Moscow and went through blah, 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 how is the state not allowed to use that against him? Because I feel like if that was true, wouldn't the state's narrative in court have been different? If he said that it was given over to the state, that they've seen everything, that there's stuff both sides know, blah, 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 blah. Well, how do you know? You don't even know. You said so yourself. You only looked through what you were given for your data set, which doesn't include all this other information. You said so yourself. You haven't seen it all. See, why wouldn't they use it after Cyree mapped it? That makes zero sense. And on top of that, wouldn't he have like basically come out and said like, okay, I can't consciously say that I'm just like working for the defense anymore. I'm an independent expert, and I'm coming in here and telling you that what the investigation shows you is incorrect information, and it was intentionally done that way to get to an answer that they were looking for. I redid the data, and it comes to the exact same conclusion. Bryan Kohberger is guilty. But this is the actual real information that should be used in court, because this is the actual timestamps. This is not correct. Why didn't that happen if he has this information that all of these dots get put together and he can prove all of that? How come something like that, maybe not that, because I'm just talking out of my imagination here. I don't know how the frick any of this shit works, but how can you have something that you claim can literally reframe this entire case because you have all this data? What? No, I'm sorry. Prove it. Drop it. Let me see it. Show it. I don't even know. Gets very specifically asked about Bethany being home the entire time from the time of the crimes up until basically the 911 call. And he basically just says he doesn't want to get into it. But for everything else, he gives a definitive answer for. At least when it comes to like, oh, yeah, well, you can't prove a cleanup. There's no proof of a cleanup. Oh, and it's apparently normal for there to be blood on the bottom of a victim's feet and blood all over the floor, but for there not to have been any traced out of the room. I lost my shit. I lost my ever-loving shit when he said that. What do you mean? Dude. No. And then the fact that he kept going on and on about the bathroom. No one really cares about the bathroom at the end of the day. There's stuff in the bathroom. It maybe isn't as stocked or used looking as the other two bathrooms, but there's stuff in the bathroom. So when he's talking about there being no evidence leading in, or anything, or any footprints or anything at the bathroom, blah, 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 I feel like he was just trying to deflect. I'm glad they doubled down. And I think it was Ron that mentioned, okay, but there was blood on the bottom of Xana's feet, and there was blood all over the floor, and you can see the swipe marks. You can see her fingers. Like, you can see it's covered in blood. How can you just say it's normal for the person who was also walking through all of the same blood that left the marks on the bottom of Xana's feet, the blood on the bottom of Xana's feet? How can they not then transfer their own out? How does that work in such a quick amount of time? How does that work? Oh, that's normal. That's not unusual. What? What you mean? Yeah, apparently everyone that is, a murderer now is just instantly going to be considered some sort of ninja with like 6 arms that could hold multiple weapons. Oh, something I really wish they would have asked is if he had seen the picture that Dylan drew of the item that she claims the person carried. I doubt that he would have seen that, but I'm just still curious. I'm trying to FOIA that information to see if we can get a picture of it, because we have the Among Us mask that she drew, so I wonder if they'll give us that. We'll see. Yeah, Bryan floats apparently. Bryan apparently floats and hovers, and I just can't. I want more information on this. And again, there's a piece of an interview. I don't remember if it was from the 13th. I think it was from the 16th, where Bethany mentions hearing a scream in the middle of the night and calling someone to come and pick her up because she tried to call out to the roommates and nobody answered. So then she backtracked and said, well, maybe I just called Maddie and Maddie didn't answer. So then I called another friend and I had her come pick me up. It's very suspicious. He also says it's really convenient that Dylan's dream was so spot on to what actually happened. And my first thought was, okay, but she dreamed about a big-nosed woman with black clothes that was coming up to the house to do something really, really bad. But then it turned out it was just a prank, and she was super nice anyway. Like Molly, how Molly looks with the big nose that was in black clothes, and it was there at 3:51, right when Dylan was awake, adding a contact to her phone, and Emily was sending money over to Xana. Yeah, her dream was real accurate, huh, Cyray? Oh my God. It is a psyop. Cyray the psyop. How can you not think that anymore? Oh my God. Yes, they're trained to never leave the agency. That's the same problem that we have. They are trained to be kind. We have no agency. Oh, I read that a different way. I read that as they're trained to never leave the agency. Like, even though they're retired or not working for them anymore, they never actually leave. I guess it's just where my train of thought actually is. That's how I feel about Chris Whitcomb, too. He never left the agency. He knows damn well that the FBI touched everything in this case. There is not a single thing the FBI did not touch in this case. Yet he deems them not as important as the little lowlifes who didn't do shit but write incorrect search warrants because they don't write reports. No shit, they don't write reports. That's the entire problem with this case. They touched everything and produced no work product. That's like the whole issue. What do you mean? See, I don't know if I could not. I don't know, guys. I've been really considering trying to get into the field for real. Because even though my degree is older, it's still something better than some people don't have, you know? So I was thinking about like maybe trying to get some sort of position, doing anything in law enforcement whatsoever, just because that's really what I want to be doing. But then I sit back and I'm just like, do I want to deal with this? Because some dumb shit is going to try to approach me to do some shady shit, and I'm going to go to prison. And not because I did the shady shit, but because I beat the frick out of some dumbass. Like, I can see it in my future. If I get a job doing this, I'm going to go to prison for beating the shit out of some idiot who tried to get me to do something corrupt. I just see it. This case is so frustrating. This is so frustrating. This is so frustrating. Now, he gets offended. He got literally offended, in my opinion. When the cleanup was mentioned, which again, I don't see how. I just don't see how. And again, I don't care about the bathroom. I'm talking about how there's no trail. And again, I've even said, okay, I can give you nothing coming down from Maddie's room. If you want to say that Maddie and them, like Maddie and Kaylee, were the first attacked, then I can give you that. Even though, again, there's really no proof of that, but I'll give you that. But considering that there's no trail coming out of Xana's room either, you can't tell me which room was first and which room was second because there's no trail leading to or from either one. And we don't play the game that, you know, the state does with the camera bullshit. Oh, there's nothing to the left and there's nothing to the right either, but because there's nothing to the right, let's go ahead and go with the left. No, we're not doing none of that dumb shit. That's not happening. No. I'm so disappointed in this man. Really, he kind of like snickered and made weird little like. At one point, he was asked about something very specific. What was it? I don't think it was the cleanup. Was it the cleanup? He said Kohberger's activities that night leading up to the time of the murders were suspicious, but didn't say anything. Then he also like started being like real stupid and real smart ass, saying smug as F. Okay, I'm really trying not to say the F word here. You know, I really want to. There's times where it's called for, and I'm really trying not to. Okay, but F you, Cyray, for real. This was pathetic. Okay, pathetic. You can't say that Kohberger's activities that night leading up to the crime are suspicious and not tell us why you think that. While you're also telling us that there's no actual proof that puts him anywhere. Like, I don't know if he actually is claiming that he has proof that he mapped a road northeast or if he just believes that because there's nothing on 270. I don't know what the hell he's doing. Because again, I think if his map actually proved anything, the state would definitely use it because everything else they've got is wrong. So he's saying all of that while still telling us that the car leaving WSU is not Bryan's car, and that the car leaving Pullman is not Bryan's car, that the car on Floyd's is going the wrong direction, basically. Like, all these things are wrong, while still saying that kind of shit and giving us nothing else. Like, what else are we supposed to think? And then he says it would have had to, this is where he started being an asshole. He was like, you have to think about it. You would have had to have started framing him all the way back in March of 2021. Well, for one, you dumb shit, you got the wrong year. He apparently, according to the reports, got on Amazon with the whole knife sheath purchase in March of 2022. So make sure you got your shit right if you're going to run your mouth. So no one thinks that they started framing him all the way back in March of 2022. We're not pathetically ignorant. Yes, stupid shit. Okay. All we're wanting is the goddamn receipts. Tell me why they haven't given us the Amazon receipt. How come we can't see the Amazon purchase receipt? Why are we reading about some click history bullshit that doesn't matter? Show us the receipt. I can pull up every receipt for the past 15 freaking years in my Amazon account. You can't delete shit. I don't give a damn what anyone tries to say. You can archive things so that they're just not like right there in front of everyone's face if you have a shared account, but you cannot delete shit. So show us the freaking invoice. Why won't they? And I'm really curious. Is it a different color? Is the emblem a little bit different? Is it a different shade of brown? Like, what's the reason why they won't show it to us? He didn't even want to mention that part. Show us the picture. Sai, have you seen it? Or are you going off of the rhetoric? Like, what? Because the Amazon shit ain't got nothing to do with cell phone analysis. So how would you have had privy to any of that? Because again, according to you, you only saw your data set information. So how do you have that? How do you have autopsy photos? How do you have any of that? Pattern of life things. Starting from fall of 2021, pattern of life things that would have had to have had happened in order to make him the guy. And so then I'm questioning, okay, what pattern of life things are you talking about that apparently happened that you think would have been part of the framing that's gone on for 9 months because you're so freaking pathetic that you got to be done with everything, okay? When we went through the entire self-authentication process, and what ended up happening is the majority of information got removed from the court the same way that the majority of the information got removed from the cast report from the FBI. They don't have him at the same place as any of the victims. They don't have him in the same place as Bethany or Dylan or anyone associated with them. They didn't have anything. Most of the receipts were submitted and the actual information attached was for other stores. Some of it was completely blank. There was no Dickies coverall bullshit. It was a $12 freaking beanie, okay? What do you mean? What do you mean? How do we know more than this guy? How do we know more than this guy? Because we give a shit more than this guy. And considering he considers himself some sort of expert and tries to act like he's so moral and ethical, how is that supposed to be a thing? Mr. Moral and Ethical and Mr. Obligated to do the right thing, shouldn't he be reading all the documents? This is just as bad as the Goncalves is coming out and trying to say that we're the bad guys for reading the reports when they refuse to. This is just as bad. Just as bad. Yeah, he's literally sitting there saying that they are committing a crime by intentionally omitting exculpatory information. That's in his freaking report. And he's just like, oh yeah, they just need some more training. Come to my course. Pay $4,000 to come to my course. You need some more training. Unbelievable. My God. Thank you for the 5 labs. It seems anyone asking the hard questions pushing back against the narrative given are conspiracy theorists. Well, I'm one too then. Hell yeah, me too. I don't give a shit. And it's so funny because considering what Hitler called him in court, you'd think that he wouldn't just willy-nilly throw that pathetic ass word around. Like, Sai, you've got a lot to answer for. Okay, we are just not a community of people running our damn mouths. We sit here and we put time, effort, energy, mental exhaustion, emotional, everything into reading these damn forensic reports, into reading these documents, into going over these interviews. If you gave 2 shits, you'd have done the same thing. Instead, you're out here writing this book trying to do what? Recoup your bullshit money that you spent? To just turn around and be a two-faced asshole? $100? Thank you for the 10, Chris. He made up a conspiracy theory for the true crime community, then mocked us for it. See that? Yeah, he's the one who came out and gave us, but it's not even a conspiracy. Look at the damn report. That's what's crazy. He's coming out and like going back on his own words. What? That's the first sign that a man is not a man, when he doesn't stick to his word. And yeah, you can sit there and say, oh, I hold the right to change my opinion. You're not changing your opinion based off of anything. You, sir, wrote this report when you already had all of the information that you would have needed to create the map and put the data together that you're now using for your freaking opinion. So you can't sit here and say that you held the right to change your opinion when the report that you wrote after getting all that information literally says that everyone in the state, in the prosecution, in the investigation is wrong. How can you sit here and say there's problems with the DNA, with all these different things? He literally sat here and admitted there were more issues than just the cell phone stuff that he worked on, while then also pretending like everything's fine. You're going to see it would have ended up being Kohberger anyway. No, it wouldn't have. Chief Fry, Dollinger, Brett Payne, Gilbertson, everybody that's already been spoken to have all said there was nothing at all regarding Bryan Kohberger on the record before the 12th, before the 19th of December. Nothing. So please tell me how something that was never turned in as a tip and them having nothing on record for this person until after the FBI called them, please explain to me how they would have gotten there eventually without the DNA. Because that's what they keep talking about. There's no way that you would have gotten anywhere close to Kohberger. And then the whole four brothers thing, he's so stupid. He is so actually freaking ignorant, okay? He's sitting here saying stupid shit about, I don't know if it was me or another channel, but I know that we just recently talked about the four brothers, okay? And I know I'm not the only one that's mentioned this, but we said, why would they just stop with the four brothers after the one guy said no and then give it off to the FBI, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, we did say that. And he tried to say, like, we were the ones in the wrong because we didn't understand the process, blah, blah, blah. Homeboy, that's what I got for you. You know why? Go pull up the transcript from January 23rd, 2025, where the lab director of the Idaho State Police told Ann Taylor on the record in a closed session that they contact only one brother. The brother said he didn't want shit to do with shit. And then everything with Othram got shut down. That didn't come from us just talking out of our asses. That's coming from us repeating what was said by the lab director of the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab. Wouldn't you know that? Shouldn't you know that if you're going to be coming out here doing all of that? That's crazy. That's crazy. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah, gaslighting 101. Loser 101. Unbelievable. I was not expecting to be pissed. Like, you guys even know, and I say this every time, and y'all know damn well that it's true. I came out here with broken plea, like, hell yeah. We're about to get some freaking information. This is crazy. And then we got some information, and well, yeah, we were able to pull some of it up and back some of it up. We're not really backing it up with the story that we're being told. When it comes to the chain of custody issues that they came out and told us about, there are chain of custody issues, but not the way that they came out and described it. We have not only FOIA'd information, but other information has been unsealed, and we can see where there's been chain of custody problems. We know there's still some information that we don't have, but it's not the story that we were being told. And while I am really upset with the fact that they came out, and they being Chris Whitcomb and Turvey, came out saying that Kaylee and Maddie had these signature wounds on their bodies and all this crazy shit, okay? Then the autopsy reports come out, and that's not true. It's not true. They do not have matching vertical, parallel, shallow markings, wounds, cuts, whatever you want to call it. They do not have that on their shoulders. Kaylee's is horizontal, down to the bone. Maddie's is above her top of her left breast at a different complete angle. They're nowhere near matching. They're not the same angle. They're not the same shape. They're not the same anything. But when it comes to the hair in Ethan's hand, we sure have an FBI lab report. We sure have another report that just came out and said that they took a hair strand from it and compared it to some things they think is consistent with Ethan's. But to sit there and pretend like there's not hair in Ethan's hand is bullshit. Now, something he did say, which I don't think that we had maybe the exact details on, but this was sort of the way that they described it earlier on when it comes to Ethan's position. He said that Ethan's head was actually in between the bed and the wall, resting on the bed frame. So what he's claiming is that the patch of hair that's on the bed frame that we see in the photos, that's not from where his hand, I guess technically was. That's from where his head actually was, is how I took what he said there. So that's a bit different because Turvey and Whitcomb said that that area is where his hand like pathed to. And Cyray is saying that that's where Ethan's actual like head was like bent down and down in between the wall, resting on the bed frame. So apparently if that would have been the case, then the mattress would have had to have been off the bed frame already a quite considerable amount, which would make sense with the kind of like movement for the attack that would have had to have happened on that bed. It would make sense for the mattress to be off the frame, but that's two different descriptions about how Ethan's body was laying from experts that are apparently looking at the same photographs. So there's that too. There's that too. Let's see. See, he says right here, nobody can tell you that Kohberger didn't drive by this house. And that's fine. Because in one of his data rebuttals from his report, there is one on November 7th where he says that it looks like Kohberger's phone, whatever, might have put him like in the lower portion, the southeastern maybe like portion of the University of Idaho area. But anytime he's showing that his phone connects to anything even remotely near the area, it's not for very long. It's like running into a grocery store or stopping at a freaking red light. Some of them are mere seconds. And even for the ones that are longer, there's a huge shopping area right there. They've already told us that it's common and normal because of how close the two towns are for people to go back and forth to shop, that Moscow had the better shopping out of both of them. Not only that, but it's super common for the schools to go back and forth. I honestly didn't realize until we started getting into some of these fraternity interviews that a lot of classes, well, not a lot, but there are some classes that WSU and University of Idaho, they switch campuses for these classes. Some people might have a half a day over at the University of Idaho and the rest of their classes are over at WSU and vice versa. So you know how freaking easily it could have been that somebody from WSU that maybe had a class with Kohberger and maybe was around him, then switched over to campus at University of Idaho and knew somebody that might have been involved in the actual situation. And that's how the DNA got transferred. You know how much more plausible that makes it? Or even vice versa. Somebody from the University of Idaho that maybe knows the victims or maybe knows the person involved, people involved, who knows? Maybe they went over to classes over at WSU. Maybe they grabbed the door handle right after Kohberger went into the bathroom. Maybe they got coffee right behind him. Maybe they were even in the same hallway as he was. It literally is that easy. I give y'all the Walmart example all the time. It's not an exaggeration. That's literally how it works. It's literally how it works. And again, for him to sit there and lie the way that the Othram guy did, like, is he taking a page out of the Othram lab book? Because they didn't do shit here either, guys. We've been talking about this for a long time. These entities that literally didn't do anything in this case, they didn't come up with any answers. They didn't come up with any conclusions. They literally gave no answers that led to where we ended up. They're getting all the accolades. They're getting all the awards. They're getting all the notice for what? And they're lying about shit. Provable lies. Again, we went through and did a complete breakdown of the forensic data for all four of the initial swabs of the knife sheath, and they were less than trace. Less than trace. It's disappointing for him to come out here and say these things so blatantly while admitting he hasn't watched everything, he hasn't seen anything, and he hasn't been keeping up. Like, how dare you as an expert with that title holding so much weight come out here with such an uneducated, ill-informed take and admit to it while trying to mock us. You asshole. You absolute freaking clown bag. Unbelievable. I'm done talking about this. I really am done talking about this. I'm so aggravated. I'll drop this link one more time to my notes. so that you guys can read over these if you want to. Again, I tried to put them in the whatchamadoodle, and it was too long. But they are in the shared drive, the Google Drive. They're not in like a specific folder. They're just like sitting there. But you guys can go and take a look at that if you want to. I don't know when we'll do it because I still have things that I wanted to try to catch up on. But I will tell you that I'm not in a rush to get to this piece of shit thing anytime soon. We're gonna, but I'm not in a rush to get to it. So I'm going to make sure that we get the expert reports all finished being done read. I'm going to do the way that I've been doing, or the way that I did it last time, which is where I'll put a poll. I'll put a poll up in the community post area so that you guys can decide which one we're going to read. We have a lot of them still to go over. I know that the last one that I want to go over right before we do start the book is Tom Slavinsky's, because he is the cell phone analysis person who actually brought Cy-Ray on after seeing all of the issues. And so I want to go through his entire report before we actually start our first review day of the book. And let me see. We went through Brent Turvey's. We only have credentials for Hellwig. Cybergenetics is a lot of data with barely any information, but there's still like a couple of things. We have Kathleen Bright Birnbaum for the Prince. We have Leah Larkin's IgG one. Now, we've covered a lot of that one. We read a lot of that one in the whatchamadoodle, the live where we went through all of the newly unsealed information. We read a lot of that one, but we still like need to read like an entire read through. We have Nodal's report. I don't know if there's any information in the psych report. Well, it's 30 pages, so I'll have to go through and see if there's anything that's not completely redacted, but the most of it is. Then we have Ruth Ballard's crime scene report. We have the vehicle ID report, and then again the Tom Slavinsky report. But there's also like other reports that we still haven't finished all of reading. There's rebuttals from the state too, like all of these when it comes to like blunt force weapon additional information, the SNP information from middlemen. Like there's all this other stuff. We're not just going to read the defense stuff. We're going to read all of it. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what we've been doing. And that's another thing that made me mad is he's sitting there acting like we haven't been paying attention. We read everything. There might be some things we haven't gotten to yet, but when it comes to trying to literally read everything, we literally read everything. We are reading literally everything. I don't want to just show email addresses. Okay. All right. Here's my notes for this interview. Again, I was really surprised with how much they've actually pushed back. I didn't think that they were going to push back on him as much. I honestly didn't think there was going to be a lot to push back on. I didn't think that he was going to come out and be such a complete 180 person. And again, he said he has the right to change his opinion. But when your opinion is based off of information that you've already had, you've already been given the data set of information, you've already been given everything, and then you write your report, you're not saying that there was anything additional handed to you like in between. You literally were going to say in court all the time later. You got into this November 2023 and all the way in January 2025, you wrote your report. You got called a conspiracy theorist. You came on the stand. Tell me what the hell you possibly could have been handed that's new to make you come out here and do a complete 180. Nothing. Because if you had it already, it would have already been something that you were considering before you wrote that report. So I just don't believe any of that. I think he's full of shit. Well, I use the word excellent candidate. Yeah, that's weird. Excellent candidate. Yeah, I was really impressed with the pushback. I was really happy that they did it. I was, like I said, I was wrong thinking that they weren't going to push back on him. So I'm really glad that they did. They proved me wrong. Kudos, guys. Y'all did really well handling him. To the point where he was getting frustrated. That's how you know they were pushing back good, because he was getting agitated. Good. Jerk face. Seems like most of Cy-Ray's work info was 1+ years old. But Not technically, I guess, not technically, because he came on in November of 2023 officially, is what he said. And he wrote that report in January of 2023. So there's no way that in between November 2023, with all the hearings and everything else, we know that he ended up getting a bunch of data, like at some point in between. There was all kinds of hearings for the AT&T stuff. That's what the whole fight with GLDC and all the other stuff came from, like the in-between. So once he came on November in 2023, again, after the grand jury, after the preliminary was already canceled out, he came on a month before the house got destroyed. Okay, about a year after the crimes took place. From then, information kept coming in little trinkets. He was putting information together. The draft came in. The final came in. He was looking at all of these things. So he, from November 2023, take November 2024, and then add an additional couple months to January of 2025, he was gathering information that entire time up until he wrote that report. Because you have to remember, the initial information came in, the draft information came in, he had to go through all the search warrants. Like, this isn't just like old info. Up until he wrote his report, there was still information coming in that he was analyzing. So there's no way that he can sit here now not saying that he got anything else, not saying that he's been able to map anything else, and say that he can change his mind without giving us any information. How can you sit here and admit that you haven't seen everything, that you haven't seen everything, and then be so with your chest with what you're claiming? We know that we haven't seen everything, but it's more than obvious that we have seen a lot more than Cyree has. Go listen to how many times he deflects with very specific questions. It's very obvious he has no clue. He has absolutely no clue. Absolutely none. Wild as hell. Thank you for the 5 laughs. Sad that people paid money to ask questions and got mocked or laughed at, or he ignored the questions. Yeah. Yeah, which is so crazy because he's the one who originally came out here like saying all this stuff. He even did like podcasts, other YouTube channels. Like, didn't he talk to Lana at CrimeCon one time where he talked about this kind of stuff? Like, he's been open about all of it. So the fact that he's like, trust me, bro, about why I changed my mind, I can't tell you anything else, blah, 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 whatever. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Thank you for being here for 6 months, Happy Tappy. Thank you for coming in here today. Thanks for the 10 accomplished day. I'm still confused. If Cyberly's BK wasn't near King Road, but near Walla Walla Park, why is BK the best candidate, as he said? Also, did you happen to see my Alfred plea comment? I did. And see, he has no idea about that either, because he didn't, that was one of the questions where he sort of like deflected. And I think that's about the time that he started turning on Turvey about how the whole like plea came about. And he started like being an ass about like, how dare he think he needs to be consulted? I think that was around that time. But there's a huge difference between allocution and the Alfred plea situation that we were trying to like figure out, because that came from Steve Goncalves. And it's really strange to me that Steve would openly admit that Kohberger was trying to keep his innocent stance so openly like that if it wasn't true, because we know that he's done everything he possibly can, including lie about things to try to make Bryan look guilty. So that's why I think that it's got to be true. And he was just, you know, loose lips, sink ships type situation. It was Vegas. I think it's absolutely true. But, you know, at the same time, if you want to take what he said regarding Turvey, then he wouldn't have really been privy to that information either, you know? Oh, man, I just cannot believe. I cannot believe. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I will not be coming back on tonight. Obviously, it's 8:30. I don't think they expected their interview to go 3.5 hours. I'm pretty sure that's how long the audio is. I mean, the interview is 3.5 hours. Crazy stuff. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. I didn't do anything yesterday, so I already had to restructure everything. Didn't expect that to go that long, and now we're here, and I'm aggravated, so I don't know. We'll figure out what we're going to do tomorrow. It'll be earlier on in the day, because I try not to do anything too late on Fridays. Unless something else changes, I'll let you guys know. Man, ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. You guys have a super great night. Try not to stress out. We have a lot to still go over. Again, we know more about this than Cyree does, and I don't really care what anyone tries to say. I don't care. He admitted himself that he doesn't see anything else besides his expertise set. Everything else he said outside of that, he has no knowledge of. He has not poured over the documentation, the forensic files, or anything else that we have. I cannot believe he's ridiculous. I'm going to get off of here, though. Thank you so much for those who joined today and for all of the gifted memberships and the super stickers and the super chats and the super thanks. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for coming in here and letting me rant. I know that y'all were also very aggravated. This is probably going to stick for like a while. I don't think that this is... Oh, thank you for joining, Beauty Way. I don't think I saw that earlier. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. I do want to close on what he did say about how another bite at the apple. There's going to be a second bite at the apple, that Ann Taylor is playing chess, that she has Bryan Kohberger's best interest at heart, I guess. And Kristen said something about how it's good to know there's an appellate lawyer associated with this now, and Cy Ray did not correct her. So I'm going to assume that with that statement, he might be aware that there are things trying to be filed maybe before the deadline in September. But there's no way in shit that he could ever, like, if this were to ever actually somehow be reopened and go back to trial, because of everything that he's already come out and, like, stated, if they were going to try to use any sort of cell analysis, they would have to get a complete different person that's never heard of this case before ever to literally go in and redo all of the cell analysis, because there's no way that he would ever be able to talk in that court. And with everything that Balance got wrong, there's no way that they could sit there and use what Balance had, considering it's all wrong. So I don't know how the hell that would end up working. But hopefully, fingers crossed, what he said about that is accurate, because I don't see how there couldn't be anything happening. And if he knows that that's what's happening, and he knows that there's like a way that Ann Taylor is doing all of these things, it's crazy that he, as the defense expert, has the balls to come out here and then say this kind of shit that he's saying. Very confuzzled. My God. All right. I'm going to go get off of here, go watch something stupid. I don't know. Probably whatever my kids are watching on YouTube, because it's mindless and game related and it's usually funny. My God. All right. You guys try to relax, try to get some rest. I'm sure y'all are going to end up going over to another channel and venting because you need it, but I just can't anymore. My brain needs a break. Y'all go complain for me. Please go complain hella hard somewhere. This was exhausting. Thank you again for being in here, you guys. I'm going to jump off of here. Have a super... Oop, hold on. It wasn't actually on here. I got to fix it. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, it's fixed. All right. Have a super great night, guys. See y'all.